shout out Evelyn Miedemar once again for no reason though.
Just the endless love she gets on from our podcast.
Exactly.
It's like
I
Emily
don't think
Busby.
she's gonna listen to this, but
you know what?
Like a dedicated segment just for her, like every podcast until she reacts to it again.
You know,
5-minute update at the start on Evelyn Miedemar's movements this week.
No, too far. It's like I was
not far enough.
I was gonna say, like, you know, in relation to, like, you know, how we have Emily on every so often when Zoe's not there. Maybe we need to have, like, because we seem to also be the Miedemar fan club. We need to have her on every so often as well, just to balance it out.
Just replace me with all the women that I care about in my life. Sure, why not?
How's Letty not getting a shout in this?
I was gonna say, there's an obvious choice.
Let's go to a random Dutch player. Let's talk about nationals. You could have Letty, who literally plays in it. Honestly, how the fuck do people listen to this sometimes?
It's ridiculous.
Incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why people don't listen to dodgeball podcasts over actually listening to this. Like, no, fair enough.
I can see why people want us to put bookmarks as to where the each league we talk about. Oh, surely they get into nationals pretty quick, right? 1 hour later.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell.
I mean, we're 45 minutes into recording, so, you know.
That's good for us.
That's good for us.
Yeah, anyway, round 2, Women's Super League, St. George's Park. Reminder of, well, this happened the second week of January, weekend of January. Reminder of the format, because if you don't know, or if you don't remember, or if you need to listen to us, everything changed last year with reducing down to 6 league meets, and now everyone has to play 3 matches a day. Unless you're in Women's League 1 or 2. So yeah, that's why we've got an insane amount of matches on the screen right now, because every time I do this, I'm like, it's tiring just making the graphics. I'd hate to play in it. Speaking of which, sorry, how was it?
I don't know, I'm tired.
She's wasted all her energy talking about wax.
I got back like this time last night. No, I was flying this time last night. You need to give me a few more minutes. Calm.
We're gonna talk about the fact that Letty blew you a kiss during your game.
Is that this game?
Yeah. I knew there was a match that was important that I couldn't.
Oh,
remember.
I remember this league now. I forgot that was, yeah. Fucking hell, that was so long ago. Why is there so much time?
We really are the joke podcast.
Yeah. This is ridiculous. Like, I was there and even I don't remember Women's Super League.
Oh my god. Right. Yes. So I remember I watched most of the Court 1 games. So I can run you through them while Zoe recomposes herself. So Zoe probably has memories of Charlotte Josiah murdering most of the queens. Actually, that's not fair, right? There was a lot of sets that queens kind of were like kind of winning by 1 or 2 players and then just lost composure and just didn't know how to retaliate to aggressive 2-ball attacks, whether it be counters or pre-throws. To be fair, if they just learned how to kind of handle that, that would have been a much closer game. Because that's literally how sets were lost, was just not surviving the 2-ball attacks on a regular basis. Also kind of shaky single ball throws as well, give away a few catches. Really didn't like the aggressive wingers kind of putting pressure on them on a regular basis. But they're all stuff that, you know, working it and training a bit, you could see quick improvements against that, because a lot of teams that queens are gonna come up against in Super League will kind of have elements of those styles of play. Bedford were just really good at putting it all together. But you started really well. Bedford adapted, and you really struggled to come up against that. Anything else you'd like to add?
I've remembered this beat now. I was high on codeine.
Yeah, you were.
Like, I was listening to you talk, and I was like, oh, I vaguely remember being on court and seeing beagles in front of me. Don't really remember anything else.
Now I
I
remember.
was
Oh
I was on
my.
codeine, and like I was chugging Red Bull because codeine makes you drowsy. So I was chugging Red Bull to counteract the drowsiness. So I was like super wired in to how drowsy I was, which is a fascinating experience. I'm sure other people have had this before. Like if you get really, really tired and then you take a bunch of caffeine, you don't actually wake up. You just become incredibly aware of how not awake you are. And I was like, whoa, I can feel that everything's slightly far away. Anyway, yeah, not a great meet for me personally, but not a great meet for Queens either. So I was like, fine for Queens, but it really wasn't.
I don't know. I
But the
feel
other
like
thing,
what was it, 4-set loss to Beagles is not terrible considering what's going on with Bees at the moment. Like,
yeah,
The scoreline doesn't flatter them as much as like there was a lot of sets that came down to Beagles just being really good at grinding while a player up.
yeah.
Which
Which, to be
just
fair,
like for context, right? You lost by 4 sets. Beagles' other games, they smashed Wessex 18-2 and they smashed Rangers at 17-3. Like, at least you won 4 sets.
yeah, fair enough.
You are clutching at straws, I'll be honest though.
Yeah, it's not great. Like I'd rather just win a match, to be honest. But yeah, it was an interesting. The other thing that I was remembering as you were talking, I feel like I'm not going to have anything interesting to say about the actual games. But the
It's 'cause you don't
the
remember
one
them.
thing that I can remember is that half of sheriffs were hungover because they'd been at a hen do the night
Hen do, yeah.
before. And so,
Amazing.
so we were watching it, and it was because Queens had been beaten by Sheriffs pretty heavily the week before. And we were watching them, losing 13-9 to Wessex, and then losing, getting absolutely trounced basically in their other matches. They were, that's a decent scoreline against Wessex. 16-4 against White Tigers and 18-4 against Storm, not as good. And we were just watching that, and we were like, why couldn't we have had that Sheriffs team? Because we got battered by them the week before. But yeah, it certainly makes the bottom of the table interesting now because that means I don't know. I mean, we'll see when we actually see the table, but it's going to be an interesting group of 3 at the bottom there between White Tigers, Sheriffs, and Bees.
I don't know what it is
Storm
about
too
bees
as
in
well.
general, but
Yeah, some too.
I don't know what it is about bees in general, but everybody always seems to have their full strength squad as soon as they come up to face us in any meet. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like Arnie was out injured for like 90% of like last season, and then he comes back as soon as it's against bees. You're just like, oh, for fuck's sake. Everybody else, there's always like weddings and stag do's, but since coming against bees, we're there. Cancel all your plans. And that's the only game they'll turn up. They'll miss every other game that meet as well. No, our luck. Whereas we just happen to get like just gain injuries as the season wears on. Can never have a return.
Right. No, absolutely not. But yeah, there are some good scorelines there. I think most of the scorelines are pretty one-sided for that meet, so it's not as interesting. But there are 2 good scorelines there that are Storm versus Derby and Storm 2 against Rangers. Rangers didn't have particularly good outing for them because they seemed on the up in the first league meet, whereas because they've had this situation with Rangers where they've been perpetually in the relegation battle the last 2 seasons, and it kind of looked in the first meet as if they might have finally overcome that hump and like graduated into the midfield, and losing to Derby Phantoms by that level, it's obviously completely expected to lose to Derby Phantoms, but to lose 24-0, not even getting a set on the board, and taking a pretty heavy loss against Beagles. Granted, they did at least manage to beat Storm 2, which is not something that Queens can say, but
lucky to as well, to be honest.
They're lucky to. That's a very close scoreline. That's not a scoreline that if you're a midfield team, you don't want to be winning by just a set. You do want to be winning, like I said before, ultimately it doesn't really fucking matter. Like most of the time the set difference isn't the biggest deal. It does sometimes matter a huge amount, but it's better to just get the wins on the board. But that's not what they would have wanted from themselves.
Yeah, I think Storm 2 decision making in that game was a bit piss poor, to be honest, and they were just a bit needlessly aggressive, and Rangers took advantage of that. I think if they played possession a bit more and looked more for like the heavy counters rather than throwing the 2 balls and just having to retaliate that way, they probably would have won that by a couple of sets, being honest. But I think they learned that a bit too late. I would have said they were the better team, being brutally honest. Didn't think Rangers were that good in that game at all.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I remember watching the Storm Derby game, and that was close, like all the way through.
Yeah, that was a good game.
That was a cracking game. Gutted
That's
Storm
always
too.
a good game. Like I can remember so many iterations of that match that are just absolutely fantastic.
We picked some good match to catches this league meet. I'm not gonna lie, that one being definitely a hell of a match to pick up on. I know a few people like
the ones we pick for this next meet are going to be even better.
As soon as we find out what they are.
Spoilers.
Foreshadowing. But yeah, if I remember, I think this was a game that was pretty close all the way through. It wasn't like I don't think Derby were up massively at half time, if I remember correctly. It was a while ago, but I think it was Storm were kind of in it all the way through, and Derby held on at the end, which is gutting. Although now that I'm talking about it, I feel like someone said to me, "Did you not see that Storm were like 8-0 down or something at half time?" And now I'm starting to doubt what I remember. But either way, it was a good game. That's my analysis.
Reality is subjective. We're all tired. It was a very long time ago, but it was a close match, and that's all we can say for sure.
Yeah. I mean,
even then, you never know. Somebody's probably written down the score wrong.
Exactly.
That's very possible. But Storm doing Storm things of making a really good game against Derby and then getting kind of walked over by White Tigers is just 10 out of 10, chest kiss. We love that for them. Their men's one team and their women's one team are having a very similar season so far, like just all over the place in results. Can whack out some absolute, cracking results. I think they drew to Spartans in the first league meet, in like a dramatic 60-second set that was just, killer. Don't bother to wake up and play against White Tigers. That can happen too. We can always say they'll sort it out eventually, but we'll just learn to expect this from them, I guess.
Yeah, there's still plenty of time left in the season.
Yeah. I mean, we're a third of the way
we're
through.
only two. Yeah, but we're only 2 meets in.
Yeah. But yeah, that Derby 24-0 to Rangers, that sucks. The only other thing I wanted to say on this is like Wessex and White Tigers, considering their new promotions this year, have done bloody well in their first 2 league meets. Like some good results from both of them, beating some mid-table teams out the bat and some quite comfortably. Like Wessex definitely haven't looked too far out of the place. They've lost the games that I like quite comfortably that they should be losing, but really getting in there on some of the games that they like. Initially, I would have thought they have no right to be in because they've just got promoted, but that's how close women's dodgeball is throughout the leagues.
They've given a lot of teams a lot more to think about because we did definitely think that they weren't going to be in it this season, and it was just going to be a yo-yo year for them. So I think the break is potentially a good thing for everyone else, because we can kind of go back, rework the notes, and just actually take Wessex seriously, because at the moment I don't think anyone really was going into those matches, and that's even after the first league meet, even if they got some good scorelines for the first league meet, I don't think that would have necessarily meant that coaches in the second league meet would have changed their attitude that much, because there's only a week between the meets, and you kind of look at it and you're like, oh, well, it's just the first round's always a bit weird things happen, and the second round happens, they do it again, and you're like, okay, maybe we need to start thinking a little bit more about this.
It's also really difficult, right? Is that because it was within 1 week. Like, yeah, it was the first league meet, but also the next league meet is you haven't had much time to adapt or change or anything.
No, true.
And it was just after Christmas as well, so like the teams that lost players to go home over Christmas, or just stop trainings over Christmas, hadn't really had enough time to get back into training team tactics yet again. So I know it's a bit of a rough one, having 2 back-to-back league meets right after Christmas break, after nothing for months.
Yeah. What that means for the table is Derby are on top currently with 6
I'm so
wins.
tired. I thought that was a photo of Switzerland in the background.
Oh wow! Yeah. Okay, we're not even done with the first league.
We've never
Derby-
even won a medal. Why would that photo exist?
Oh, you're
Oh my
dreaming.
God.
So anyway, for our audio listeners, Derby at the top with 6 wins. Spartans second with a win and a draw. That draw going against Storm. Bedford Mighty Eagles with 5 wins and 1 loss. Rangers fourth with a 3-1-2 record with win, draws and losses. And then it goes Storm, Wessex, White Tigers, Storm 2, Killer Queens,
No.
getting control with mixed there. Queens, and then Sheriffs.
Control, yeah.
Yeah,
there
you're
you
doing
go.
so well with words right now.
We're absolutely nailing it. So there's 2 points to separate the top 3, and then 3 points between 3rd and 4th, and then 4th down to 10th is pretty close all the way through. I mean, you can see the difference by the fact that like the top 3 teams are the only teams with positive set difference.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a
wow.
really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one's looking to break into that right now, are they?
No.
No.
Like I would have said Storm. Like they're the closest with only -2 set difference, but they've been
that
all
White
over
Tigers
the
game
place.
really fucked them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really fucked them.
Somehow after all of that, Rangers are still 4th. Like
That table's gonna change massively because like White Tigers kind of played Sheriffs on a good day to play Sheriffs, and
Yeah.
somehow Storm didn't turn up in the game against them at all. From the looks of it, I didn't actually watch the game. I'll be honest. I don't see Sheriffs having another meet like that as bad as that. Queens will be an interesting one going forward. Storm 2, God knows what Storm 2 is going to turn up for the next meet. That bottom 5 I could see shaking up massively. Storm could finish, top 3 or bottom 3 at this point. Same with Bedford Rangers, to be honest.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Rangers are doing very well.
I watched. It shocked me how high up the table they were whenever Nick changed it over. To be honest, because I watched their. I don't know whether they were missing players or whatever for that second meet, but watching them play, I really wasn't impressed with either.
Their first league meet was really good though.
Yeah, they had a very, very good first meet.
Really good. I can't remember who they played in their first league meet, but they had some great results.
Yeah, beat Sheriffs, to be fair. But anyway,
Sheriffs are last.
But we don't think that they should be. Is the thing.
You only beat who's in front of you, right?
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah, to be fair, they beat White Tigers and they beat Sheriffs in the first meet, both who haven't been in great form.
Yeah.
White Tigers walked away from the first meet with 0 wins.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically
it's good.
Seems to be dumb luck.
Yeah.
You mean Women's Super League being unpredictable yet again?
Who's
Nick's creaming himself right now.
What? I mean, if you're watching,
sorry,
you'll be
it's not Women's League One. I'm so sorry. It's not Women's League One. My bad. I'm sorry. I mixed it up.
Oh man,
I apologize to the listeners.
Jesus Christ. I appreciate the reputation. Bloody hell. Right, well, I think that's about all we can say about this then. Obviously,
that's that.
Top 3 are currently untouchable. I mean, that is wild that, 3rd place is set difference 46, not even just above positive set difference, massively above set difference, and then your next best is on -2.
It is funny that Derby have +76 whenever they just scrape past London Storm, who's in 5th. Barely. That one's quite funny, to be fair.
But Derby is still to play Spartans.
Yeah. That'll be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Do we think it'll be a draw?
Oh, did they both of the matches last
There hasn't
year
been
draw?
enough draws so far.
Yeah, that's
There's
why
been
I'm saying it's
2.
got to be. Derby used to draw all the time, and they haven't done it yet this season in women's. So we need that. We need that back from Derby.
Go on, do it, Derby. Throw more invalids.
Look, guys, look what matches on the board that could be a match to catch.
Oh, both
Can
of
I
them.
get like?
Derby versus
Can I
Spartans
do-
and Derby versus Beagles.
Can I get like extra points if I do a Jeopardy call and say that neither team's going to win the Derby versus Spartans? Like, can I just get extra points on the board if I get that right?
Oh, are you gonna go for the draw? Oh,
Yeah, I'm not calling Derby or Spartans. I'm calling a draw.
Also, I think Zoe's just picked the match to catch. Believe it or not.
Well, you picked Derby
That's my
Spartans?
vote for match to catch. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be mine too. To be
Yeah,
fair,
I
after
think
our
Derby
discussion.
Spartans. Derby Spartans over Derby. Because Derby Bedford Eagles will also be a great game, but
Yeah.
I think over history, Derby Spartans has definitely been a great match.
Yeah.
It's a wild fixture day for Derby. Playing Spartans first, then they got to play Bees, and then they play Beagles.
Obviously, 3 equally talented teams that they're playing there.
Some really tough matches.
They'll be
Depends how much
prepping all
codeine
of
Zoe's
those
had.
matches. I'll just be absolutely doped out on court, catching everyone left, right, and centre. It'd be great.
Oh, fantastic.
In all honesty, it's a big day for Queens. Like,
Yeah. Well, every day's a
Storm
big
have
day
shown
for
that they're
us.
well, you're not wrong, but
We have to win something eventually.
yeah, you have to pick up at least 2 points in this, mate.
Exactly.
Whether
That's the thing. So it's a.
but
big
the
win
annoying
always.
thing for you guys or girls, I should say, is the fact
Guys,
you're
it's
playing
gender neutral.
Rangers last. That's the annoying one. You'd almost rather Derby be last because you kind of have no expectations going into that. Do you?
Oh
Yeah,
no,
you can just fuck
Rangers also have Spartans and Storms. Like you guys have Derby and Storm as well. So I don't know. You're both gonna get pretty beaten up beforehand. So it'll be-
Expectations. Bees have drawn Derby last season.
yeah, with a
That's
slightly
true.
different team.
That was crazy.
I don't
that
know what
was-
you're talking
that
about,
was
Colm.
wild.
That was the expected outcome of that match. Nobody was surprised at all. Definitely not Bees.
Definitely did not have
I
the
definitely
entirety
didn't
of the
run on
sports
court.
hall just like watching what was going on. Like what?
Blue definitely didn't nearly collapse trying to claw back
Yeah.
the last set.
It wasn't even the last set, was it? It was the one from
No, it
last
was
set.
Second
Yeah.
last set, sorry.
Like absolutely brilliant effort. Yeah,
The
that's
most
that's
dramatic moment in dodgeball history was Blue collapsing to the ground.
Yeah.
and be like, no,
Nearly
you've got one more
sacrificing her
step.
life in the sake of the Queen's 1 point, but still got them relegated.
Dedication to the cause right there.
Bless her. Congratulations on your England debut, by the way.
She almost threw up in that as well, to be fair.
Is that just her thing now?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what happens when you've got that playing style. I think you just have to run the risk.
Empty stomach all the time.
I mean, yeah, there's going to be some other good games as well. Wessex v Storm 2, I think, will be quite an interesting one. Definitely will pit out that middle table a bit more and see where teams are. Wessex against White Tigers, rematches from last year. Be good to see how that goes.
You're going to be cheering on Wessex again, Nick.
I'll be too busy on Men's League One. It's on at the same time. So, no.
You're not going to be the number one. Like, Wessex need a fanboy, and that is you.
They've
You
got
are
their
just
own
one
fucking
person in
men's
the
team.
crowd.
Have you not seen Wessex Entourage when they're playing? Like,
Yeah, I'll never forget. I was ball retrieving for Queens against Wessex. I think it was Queens against Wessex. And the ball went to the back of the net where the spectators is. And this guy looked to be helping me get the ball out. And then he just boots it to another court, nearly kicking my hand at the same time. And then
Class.
after that set finished, he then went under the net and went into the Wessex Wolves box. And I was like, you are a prick, lad.
So funny.
I have no idea who that is. But yeah.
Luca,
is-
I bet it was you. I was betting it was you, Luca.
I don't
If
know.
it
I
was
too
Luca, it
busy
definitely
to
wasn't
kind of take-
intentional. That's
Oh,
the
no,
thing
this
Luca
dude
would do
tried to, like,
completely
swipe my-
accidentally.
This dude tried to take my hand off at the same time. Like, it got stuck in the net, and like he helped me untangle it, and then he just Boom.
That's so funny.
I was
Oh,
like
God.
such a dickhead. Like, I can't even like go to the referee about it because like
Yeah,
at that point he
exactly.
was just a spectator. I was like, I'm
Well,
just
no,
not going to
you can
accept that
get-
this happened.
You can get carded as a spectator.
James
I
Radford
don't even.
will
I didn't know if
constantly
he's a
remind
player or
you
not.
that.
I didn't recognize him in that moment.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really take in a lot of people.
Genuinely could have got carded for that, which
Yeah.
would have been quite funny.
Oh,
Well,
anyway.
match to catch is Derby v Spartans. Zoe being the ever, Swiss person and being neutral and voting
Co-neutral.
voting for neither. Great. So that's 2 losses then.
Jesus Christ.
Colm, where are you going? Derby or Spartans?
Ooh. Let's go Spartans. Been a fan of theirs this season whenever I watched them play some good dodgeball.
Yeah. No,
There's the analysis that you've all been waiting for.
Incredible. Fantastic insight. Nick, your vote.
BT Sport hire me.
They don't exist anymore.
Doesn't even exist anymore. Beat you to it, bitch.
TNT Sports, hire me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going Spartans too. Hopefully
No,
they
it's
can
Spartans
actually...
won that are playing here, mate.
Hey!
Thank you. Be here all night.
We bloody will at this rate. Yeah, I'm going for Leamington Spartans to win against Derby Phantoms.
I
No
do
other
think
analysis.
gun to my head, I do think I would actually have said Phantoms in this match. I do still think it's going to be a draw, but I think Phantoms, it's that chaotic style. I think it just works really well against a really structured team sometimes. They're just really annoying and hard to read, so I think they would take the win if you had to make me decide. But I do think it's going to be
You
a
don't
draw.
have to. You can go for a draw, Zoe.
I'm
a
going for
ballsy
a
move.
draw.
That's
I don't think it's going to pay off. It's a ballsy move, and I don't think it's going to pay off. But
I love it.
do
I'm all
genuinely
here
think
for it. I'm all here for it.
Well,
I'd even be
check,
tempted to say I'd give you half a point if there's a set in it, to be honest. It's that ballsy of a move.
check
I won't
out
because
our,
I want to win.
You want to win.
I'd
You
be
are
tempted
gonna
to
win.
say, if I was a
I've
good
missed-
sportsman, I would.
I've missed a league me. I think you're going to win anyway, but yeah.
You can still enter your match to catch predictions. Not
I
gonna-
was going to say, check out our Instagram to find out the Bevers prediction and also to vote your own.
And follow us so I can get to 1,000 followers for no reason that I'm interested in.
The fact that Colm's the only one who's really been watching it and being like, "Oh, we're close to this. This is what my plans are when we hit 1K."
Are
And
we
I'm
close
like,
to 1,000?
like
Or
apparently
like
so.
850-ish.
Oh, cool.
So like we're not too far off it. We're still
Yeah.
like, relatively quite away from it.
Also, I just love how we were stuck at 199 subscribers for so long, and then someone hit subscribe, and then we just got 15 out of nowhere. Like,
Is that actually what happened?
yeah, they were just like, nah, I'm not gonna get to 200. Oh, they've got to 200. All right, subscribe. Like, all right, cheers,
Oh,
guys.
Somebody was just teasing. There's gonna be a club that was just
There's
teasing
a-
for
there-
you.
yeah.
Just out of nowhere, just like spam.
I bet you it was Nighthawks.
What have
Like-
Nighthawks ever done to you?
They haven't done anything to me. They've actually spoken to me about the pod, whereas no other club has. So I reckon it's
People
probably Nighthawks.
speak to you?
Yeah, I know it's
That's
crazy. yeah.
I had a lovely chat with Dave Poole last meet about the podcast. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's nice. I just more meant I was surprised at the concept that anyone speaks to Nick, not about the podcast, just like.
Oh,
generally.
that makes a lot
Yeah.
more sense.
Oh, I don't have feelings, guys. It's okay.
We know.
Right, moving on to some other game. Do you want some my favourite league, shall we?
He's tried to find his graphics through tears brimming in his eyes there.
Why would
There's a
anyone
joke there
love
I'm not
me?
gonna say.
Cool. Right, round 2 of Women's League One. Oh god, this was such a tense day. Other than like that first match, I think this was like the morning session, so I don't know if anyone was actually that awake watching. Oh no, it was the afternoon session, wasn't it? But I don't remember that first match. But the next rounds were just so tense on both courts. That Hartlepool Spartans game was close all the way through, and Spartans just like had a really good run in the second half. So they just managed to scrape away with the win. The Leeds Nighthawks match, Nighthawks were 4-2 up and had to throw in the last set. And they had to throw with 4 balls, and we got 2 catches. So won that set literally at the last second, and there was nothing that could be done because there was not enough time to step off court. It was a wild finish.
Did you need the 2 catches, or would one catch have been enough? Was
No,
it a
we needed
rebound catch, or was it that they went?
No. It was 4v2, and they went up with 4 balls. I think they threw all 4, and then our 2 players were stood together in the corner, and both of them made a catch. It was Jess and Leah, and they both made a catch.
Nice.
It's crazy.
I think Jess then got hit, so I think we then won 3-2. But that was a wild finish. Absolutely wild finish.
Ripping.
Yeah. It was absolutely crazy finish to a set and a crazy finish to a match. But it was a really good game. It was tense all the way through. Like I think it was 5-5 at half time. Like it was a really close match. And same with the Sheriff's game. I think we were 1 set down at half time. And we just Sheriffs won, I think, 3 sets on the bounce in the second half, and we just couldn't close the gap after that. They just did enough to win it in the second half. And again, Nighthawks against Hartlepool was a close game. They were just like great games all around. Can't say anything else about it. Like they were just really, really tight, really nervy games. And yeah, I mean, I'm guessing you guys don't have much to say. 'Cause I don't know. Did any of you watch any of those games?
Could not find any footage. I'll be honest.
I don't have anything to say. The only thing that I did there when I leaned forward was I was trying to work out if that's Becca Smith looking as if she's throwing up in the background of your graphic.
Wow.
That's all my insight right there. But yeah, no, very nice close scorelines. I do wish that these were recorded matches because these actually sound a lot more interesting than some of the matches that we had in Women's Super League. These are all super, super close.
The Derby Spartans game was definitely recorded because that's the one that had the triple hit on it.
Yes.
So that's definitely there on I think.
Well, Derby
Derby's...
always record their matches. They're very good on
to
that.
be fair, Ross
and
is
they get them up.
on that.
I was gonna say, Ross is amazing. I didn't realize that he does
smashes
all of
it.
Yeah.
So
he's even doing it at the men's National League 2 and 3 as well. He's been doing it. Fair play to him. Doing a really good job.
Yeah.
Puts Matt Whale to shame. I'm gonna get stick for that one.
When's the next Matt Does Dodge? So there were some pretty tense matches all around. Really well played. Really quite balanced. I think this league is far more balanced than I expected it to be at the beginning of the season. In fact, we'll just go on to the table because this says everything you need to know. I would never have seen Hartlepool at the bottom of the table at the beginning of the season. This is almost upside down to what I'd expect at the beginning of the season, to be honest.
Actually, yeah. That's impressive.
Really?
That bottom 3, I would expect it to be the top 3.
Because Colm, remember last season, Nighthawks and Hartlepool were really high up in the table.
Yeah.
It was sort of the top 3 teams were up there, and then right underneath them you had Nighthawks and Hartlepool kind of battling out. And then Nighthawks kind of took the edge at the second half of the season, and Hartlepool dropped down and sort of started sinking away a little bit in their results. But at the start of the season, they were really, really solid.
I'm a little bit, to be honest, I was actually expecting Leeds to be a bit lower after some of the team changes they had. Hartlepool.
You blasphemy. No, he's talking about Sophia. Sophia Van Mark leaving. That's the real.
It was both. It's big losses that well, not to my knowledge, wasn't fully replaced. So that doesn't shock me too much. Sheriffs 2 shocks me for how high they are. But Derby fans too, like Derby just are really good at coaching their way of playing, and they have a lot more experience in the team now with Charlotte Birch and Kirsty Lund. Then you have Nat Kay.
And Sophia.
That's a good and Sophia.
And
sorry,
Sophia, and half of
I don't think she's
Sheffield
played.
have gone to play there.
Yeah.
So like it never really. I kind of put them probably finishing top of the table at the start of the season. Again, Spartans too, very good at coaching their methods throughout the team. So again, was never really going to shock me if they done well. But yeah, you would expect Hartlepool to have probably done a bit better, and Norwich Nighthawks probably to do a bit better. But it's still really tight though. You're only 2 points behind. Like,
exactly. Someone has to lose. They're all actually very close to each other.
I mean, there's already been like a stupid number of draws there, aren't there? Like,
yeah.
I think
true.
three draws already. Like that's and Leeds being involved in 2 of them. But yeah, I mean, like I know. So Derby have recruited from Uni of Sheffield. Spartans obviously have their annual recruit from Warwick, and Sheriffs this year have like had random recruits from all over the place come to them. It seems in their women's team. Like it's almost an entirely new team. Which is really great for them. It's really great to see. I know there's some Uni of Sheffield players there. There's
cool.
ex-Muds players there, ex-Birmingham players there as well. So they've had a few
and obviously Nottingham players there.
Yes, and the obvious one. But yeah, so they've
you listed every other university and not the one that's actually in the city that plays there.
I thought he was listing the minor Bs lineup from last meet.
That's a topic for another day, isn't it? But yeah, whereas Leeds, we've had like some York people come join us, but and Uni of Leeds players, but been a bit different in our cohort. So I don't think Nighthawks changed much, or the Hartlepool team changed much. So shows what good recruitment can do.
I think that is one of the things that the northern clubs really struggle with by comparison to the Midlands ones. Is that it's just, where are we even meant to recruit from? Like there's so little dodgeball up here that there's nothing you don't tend to be able to recruit unless someone just happens to move up north, or you get a completely new player, which I think is more frequently the case. So it's the Midlands always ends up with these really exciting people moving around and people switching teams constantly because they can, and they're all kind of bunched up together.
Yeah.
I am counting Sheffield as the Midlands, even though they're very clearly not the Midlands. But for them, it's the same distance to the Midlands as it is to the nearest northern club. So,
I mean, it is really interesting because Uni of Sheffield are basically equidistance from Derby, Nottingham, and Leeds. And just the way that that's split up, like, I mean, we don't help ourselves because we are the northwest side of Leeds, so probably the furthest part away from Sheffield you can get. But yeah, no, it has been interesting how that's sort of gone out. And I think the other thing is how long dodgeball's been in the universities that like feed into them. Like Uni of Leeds, like Leeds Met used to be massive back in the day, but they died a very, very painful death. But Uni of Leeds, very new, very green, not much coaching that's been around in that university team. Same with Uni of York. They're still pretty green. They've been around for a while now, but in terms of like making sure there's regular training and regular coaching there has been quite difficult, and we're just getting Hull up and running, and seeing what they do. So
it's an interesting question.
That's me pointing out that you're going off on a massive tangent.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I was like, what are you doing? Yeah, massive tangent, but like it affects the clubs, and it is being shown here in the league table. That's, I guess, the point. Bringing it back to.
I do have a point to make that is not quite a tangent. It's not entirely on the point, but it's much closer to the point than what we were just talking about. Which is over the last few weeks at UD Open and at WEX, I've had conversations with people that are playing in League One or that coach League One about like which team, if any, on this list do you think would actually fare well if they get promoted? Because last year it did sort of feel, you looked at the top 2 teams or the top 3 teams and you were like, okay, I could see them taking some points here and there off of Super League teams. Obviously didn't expect them to do as well as they've done, those teams that got promoted, but like it was still, it did feel as if the caliber was there within those lineups. And this is a much closer league this time around. I do think the level's kind of equivalent all the way across the board, but then is that level actually at the same level as Super League, or has the overall level sort of dropped away from Super League? Not that the levels got worse, but that Super League has just got further away from them.
I don't think that's necessarily true, because if you look at Wessex and White Tigers coming in and being mid-table, like if they came in, they would be fighting with the other bottom of the league table teams there. I think, put it this way, I think the teams that would get demoted from Women's Super League are no better than the teams that would get promoted out of this league right now.
Yeah. I think they would have a fighting chance against the bottom 5 currently there. To be honest, I don't think any of them are playing at a much higher level than League One right now. To be brutally honest,
that's good. That's what you want to hear. It's a thought experiment. I'm not siding on either side.
The caveat I would put is, I think the majority of those 5 teams, I think if they were playing in a smarter way and making smarter decisions in their games, would be performing a lot better.
Yeah,
I don't think it's the ability that's the issue with a lot of them. Is the caveat I'll put with that. Like, sure, I'm starting to hug over to the last mate was never going to help them pick up points. Queens have the ability there. It's just not clicking together as a team right now, and they're struggling to adapt. So whenever teams are changing up in the middle of the games, Storm 2 have, in the first meet especially, we're taking some of the best teams to within 2 or 3 sets. No fucking idea how White Tigers got 2 wins in that last meet against London Storm, and I can't remember who the other one was off the top of my head. To be fair, Wessex have actually looked, from what I've seen, they've looked pretty decent.
I mean, Wessex, I think Wessex, we knew going into it, had the more Super League friendly style
they
of
have
play,
the experience already.
Whereas White Tigers somewhat brute force their way through.
100%. But so my caveat would be, I think Derby fans too have enough good experienced players that if they stayed till next season, they could probably carry themselves quite well against a lot of teams. I don't know about the rest of them well enough to kind of make that comment, but a lot of it is just having the experience to know how you adapt to like very interchangeable teams in Super League, really.
Yeah, I think you can kind of point out to all those teams what their pros and cons are. Like Spartans are on paper, ability wise, should be winning this league in my opinion. I think they are the strongest team in players, but I think they are quite rigid in how they play, and they don't really play to each individual's strengths. They don't just let themselves go play dodgeball. Not in when I say that, I mean like in the bovine sense of fuck it, let's see if this works kind of thing. Like they don't really do enough of that in my opinion. They are very formulaic, and those players deserve to play in a more free-flowing team.
I think they suffer from the second's curse of they're trying to play the first team style, and they're not the same players as the first team, so they shouldn't be playing the same style as the first team. That's something that Storm's done very well to recognize that. When you look at Storm 1 and Storm 2 in Super League, they're very, very different styles of play, and that's why they're both doing quite well normally. Like they both they can take each other on, and they can take on different teams. Like twos will pick up wins against teams that batter the ones sometimes, and it's just kind of because they just play a very different style of dodgeball between the two teams. The reason, just to clarify though, sorry, actually, Colm, you say what you were going to say.
No, because I'm going to go off on a wee bit of a tangent, so you work away.
All I was going to say is, just before I get absolutely, murdered by Women's League One players, I do feel like it kind of, the question that I brought up implies that they're of a lower caliber. It's more a thought experiment because of the fact that there's so many twos teams that are doing so well in League One. And so it becomes this question of, is a twos team going to necessarily do particularly well in the next league up? If they replace, a different club. And I think that does come down to whether or not they're playing a different style to their ones, if they're playing down to their own specific advantages, which is why I don't necessarily feel as if the Spartans 2s at the moment would do that well in Super League. But if they started to play to their own strengths, absolutely, yeah. I can see them doing very well.
I mean, Storm 2 would argue that seconds team can do fine in Super League.
Exactly, but they're a classic example of a team that plays to
Yeah.
their strengths and not their one strengths.
Yeah, I mean, just to finish off my thoughts on the other three teams, like Sheriffs are quite a new team and they are playing a bit more of a free flowing game. And I think it'll be interesting to see if they develop into more of a rigid team and learn how to play against like Derby and Spartans too, and can really pick them apart, or whether they end up relying on their players' ability, and then other teams like the Spartans and the Derbys are able to just go, right, that's how we deal with that player, that's how we deal with that player, and then pick them off. So either I see Sheriffs after this gap will either keep going up because they've got the ability and they've started training as a team, or they're going to get found out. Leeds, I mean, I won't go into us too much, but there's stuff going on. We'll find out what happens afterwards. And Nighthawks, I think it's just calling. They have like one really good caller, and she's fantastic as a winger. But when she's out, the calling kind of falls apart. And I don't know whether it's just a case of they need to call from the box or call from wherever. But like, I mean, teaching calling is really difficult. But yeah, I think that's experience. I think that's where Nighthawks fall apart a bit. What was your tangent, Colin? Or shall we move on?
I was so busy having microphone issues that I completely forgot.
Let's move on.
I was wondering what was going on over
there. My microphone disconnected as Zoe was talking, and I was having to sort it out in the background.
Panic.
Trying not to disconnect and try and sort it.
So with Women's League 1 and Women's League 2, everyone plays each other 3 times. So in 6 league meets, we have already played all the teams. So we're back to the same fixture set from the first league meet, and at the same times and on the same courts, but different refs because you might as well change something. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, hoping to come away with more than draws like we did last time from a Leeds perspective, but. Yeah, any thoughts for Match to Catch on this one?
Last time.
I'm going to say Spartans Sheriffs 2 would be.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to go
jumping
for.
out at me. Yeah.
Mix. Sorry, I was having to go through the list of matches to pick one out, but yeah, it'll either be that or potentially you could go for Spartans Leeds either, but I think Spartans and Sheriffs would be a more interesting matchup.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd say Spartans Sheriffs, yeah.
Based on the way we just framed it about the whole structure versus chaos type thing, like what's going to win out. I think that's going to be a really interesting one. Like we set that up so well on the tee, didn't we?
It's almost as if it's planned, but you can tell it really wasn't because we don't even have the graphics set up correctly with the TBD in the corner.
And the absolute ramble this podcast has been already. So yeah.
What are you talking about?
No idea.
And that's what people are going to be asking us.
Spartans 2, Sheriffs 2. Do you guys have any gut calls, or are you? What are your thoughts going to be?
Sheriffs. I love Spartans 2 so much. I have so many friends on that team, but so they're going to hate me for it. But I feel like I can see Spartans 2's losing their nerve to Sheriffs if Sheriffs start to get a couple sets, and I can't see it going the same the other way, just because I feel like Sheriffs are a bit more relaxed about the whole situation. They don't feel as if they've got quite as much to prove, and I think that pressure will help them in that game. If it doesn't go like that, if Sheriffs don't manage to get a couple sets on the board to panic Spartans and to sort of make them feel like they've got to fight, I think it would easily go to Spartans. Well, not easily, but I think it will go more firmly in the direction of Spartans. But I can really see that being a situation that comes up of just a little bit of panic and a little bit of pressure kind of breaking down Spartans. So I'm going to go with Sheriffs 2s, which feels like a gut response that I'm going to regret. But here we are.
No regrets.
No regrets.
Back your gut. I've just had a look at the league table and seen this set difference. So I'm going Spartans 2. They have a nearly 40 point score difference.
They've been doing
in their
well.
favor.
Yeah,
so,
they've been doing very well.
Same league points.
Same league point. No, but same league points. However, 40 set points
Yeah,
or 20
yeah,
20
I mean,
sets
yeah.
difference in
I
5
think
games.
on paper, Spartans are the like. If I were a bookie, I'd give more better odds to Spartans winning. But my
Catching out
little
bookie
dumb
app
monkey brain.
re-release soon. That's the dream.
That is the
Anyway,
dream.
I'd probably agree, and they seem to be racking up big scores against some of the teams there. So it feels like a safe bet, to be honest. That anything to go against Zoe to get more points is a-okay in my books.
Yeah, I'm going to back Spartans too. So
I don't think I'm going to do well this time.
I mean, yeah, like I said, you're already a whole league meet behind. But yeah, I think Spartans too.
Listen, I have to.
Definitely my choice. Like I rate them as a team. I'd like to see them win this league.
Yeah,
to be honest,
I still think they can win the league.
She so love you guys.
I really do think they can win the league. There's just something about that setup that I don't know. Maybe it's just my own Spartans trauma, but there's some part of my brain that's just sort of going, "Oh dear, that's exactly the kind of match that could trip them up." Like, oh, there's something about that specific setup that could just trip them up. It's a game that they will feel like they should win, and that's why it will trip them up.
It is very funny because like the way you say that, as soon as like Sheriffs came back at them, like Spartans 2, I understand from the perspective of what you're saying is if there's a team that they expect to start like getting points against them, they will get in their own head about it. And I think we've talked about it before. Like the beginning of a match is so weird because someone has to win points to begin with, but you can find yourself in a hole very quickly, even though like you've just lost 2 sets. 2 sets in a period of a match is not that big of a deal, but it can feel like it because you've got to work yourself out of that hole. And yeah, I definitely think Spartans are a team that, especially when like, you know, if someone wins the first 2 sets out in the second half as well, no matter what the score is at half time, will really, go against them, and it'll be really difficult for them to fight back, I think. But we'll have to see. But I hope they win because that's my prediction. On to
2 down, 3 to go.
Yeah.
3? Fucking hell! Why are there so many men?
No, there's so many women.
Women.
Jesus Christ!
We do women's league?
No, like understand your league, Zoe. There's 3.
I forgot we do women's league on this.
Yeah.
Women's league too.
Because they're both in SGP.
Yeah, I forgot that women's league 2's in SGP as well.
That's
really
imagine Zoe being the sexist one here.
I mean, the worst thing is I coach Honeys. I just genuinely forgot that it's in the same, like, that we cover it.
It's not like soldiers and miners. Yeah.
I knew it was an SGP, but I forgot that we cover it because I know that we cover only 2 men's leagues, so I kind of forgot that we cover more than that. And okay, that makes sense.
Like,
Go on, keep digging. I'm enjoying.
I'm really tired.
Brain fart over. I mean, I just remember this one being like, oh yeah, Cov won, our Cov won. Like they're a good team. I'm not surprised.
Stacked.
Yeah, they are. They are
pretty fucking stacked.
And I'm assuming MK didn't show up. Otherwise, they're insanely consistent.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're just gonna get pulled.
Yeah,
that's what I've heard.
That's what I've heard.
But
anyway,
which is heartbreaking because like they entered the first.
It's really
week and they
sad.
had 5, and then they couldn't fulfill the second one, which is it's just gone.
Yeah, I think after a league mate where you have 5, it can be a bit disheartening if you think you're going to have to do that for the entire season. 'Cause it just makes it very difficult to play, like in all reality.
I think Saints did have a
I hope they get a bounce back.
Yeah, I was going to say Saints are doing brilliantly.
Said that. Oh, Honeys against Sades. Oh my god. Absolute. Like, we should have won that. Like,
most improved club.
I'll be honest.
But you didn't.
Deserved.
Did we? We didn't win it. So
no, we threw away the last 2 sets.
Can't say that we should have won it when we just didn't.
I don't know what happened in those last 2 sets. Some of the decision making from some of the girls
Saints won.
Brutal. They won both of them. Just. I don't know whether the occasion got to them, like because they're obviously. But these are used to like coming from behind
on a Sunday. Yeah, sure.
They
no,
were
it's
also
just,
hungover from a hen do, Nick. You never know.
no, it just felt like experience because usually honeys are either
Yeah.
coming from behind. They're not used to kind of like having to play out the sets to take the win. I think that like that lack of experience in those scenarios really showed because there was just random throws out of nowhere giving away catches for like just no reason. And you just see like the panic setting in within the team in those last two sets, and the Saints were like, "We'll just lap this up and we'll go back at you and throw and knock you out." And he's like, "Oh shit, we need it. We need to get this. We need to get this." Well, that's what it felt like from the sidelines, anyway.
You're saying it in a really, nice structured way, but what you're essentially saying is Honey's lost because they're not used to winning.
Or being in a
Yeah.
winning position. I mean, we know it's called choking.
Which is amazing. Yeah. They're just so excited. It came a little early.
Yeah. It was like they've never really in all reality, they've never really had to like grind out games. Really, they just kind of just like they're either winning or they're getting.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
They've never been in a tight game before. Most of them, other than Alex did, but Saints picked up that Alex was the most experienced on the court, very quickly, and just waited for her to throw and then just committed everything to getting her out, which worked a fair bit. But yeah, the experience, just the lack of experience, is just really showed in those final two sets, especially. But they're coming along very well, and it's nice to see them in a league where they're competing regularly against teams, and except for Coventry, of course. But
but Coventry don't count. I'm sorry, you can't put those players on a team in League Two and still count it. They're just they've won it. It's like watching F1.
I would very much, yeah.
They're the Max Verstappen of League Two.
Top Silverbacks.
But yeah, other than that, it's nice to see them, and I think it's a great experience for them. And I do hope that because it's a very tight league at the moment, I do hope that they can
not at the top though.
Fight. Not at the very top. I don't know how it's working. Is it one or two teams going up or down? I don't know if either of you know.
God knows, because we don't know what the league system for next year is going to be, do we? So.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, true. So I think they're more ready to go into like a League One standard. I think next season, hopefully, depending on who's actually available. But yeah, it was just nice to see them having some really good competitive matches. It's always nice to see.
Yeah, definitely.
Can we see the table? Talking of things that we'd like to see.
Yes.
Thank you, Nick. I don't think there's anything else on that. I was looking the whole time that Colm was talking. I don't think there's any other matches that are particularly notable.
Yeah.
So he's just there going like, God, Colm's so right. Oh,
he's
so smart.
Colm's absolutely right.
Silverbacks won winning everything. Saints doing really well against everyone but Silverbacks, and Bees having a bit of a net day. But I mean, this basically means that Silverbacks are going to win the league. Let's be real.
So stop paying attention to that. Cover that bit of the board up.
And then everyone who actually turns up to the league could be in with a shot.
Yeah. Good conclusion. Yeah. I mean, it's very close in that midsection there, the 2 to the 4th place, 2nd to 4th place rather.
And like to be clear, Silverbacks 2 are not a bad team. Like, they're a solid team.
No.
So it's
they could come back.
Yeah, like I can see them getting wins over White Tigers 2, Saints or Bees. Definitely see that happening. So
I think they might just beat MK as well.
Wow.
You know what? That's going to be my prediction.
That's your match to catch, is it?
I'm not only going to predict that MK are going to lose those matches, I'm actually going to give you a prediction on the scoreline as well. I think it might be a 40-0 loss to MK in all 3 matches.
I can't wait for
3 points
them to be pulled from the. I can't wait for them to be pulled from the league. So actually, it's not recorded as a result, and you'd be wrong.
Yeah, but they won't be pulled from the league for this round. It will be next round, isn't it? That they have to miss 3, or is that an old rule?
I don't know if they just.
Well, they turned up to 1, right? So
yeah, I don't know. Exactly. I think they have to I I think they just have to say they're not attending, and then BD can remove them.
Yeah, I think there is
Or
a rule
MK.
about how many times, because I remember this happened at Uni League back in, the dark ages.
Back in my day.
2018, 2019, I feel like it was like Nottingham Trent or someone just kept not showing up, but they weren't pulling out of the league, and so there was a rule that after a certain number of missed league meets, then they can just be pulled by BD.
Yeah, I feel bad for MK because I'm pretty sure there's also like a fine of some sort that goes into it. As well.
Yeah, there
This
is.
is sad.
Which is wild. Like, I get it, but it also feels a bit wild in a.
Where does that money go?
Voluntary sport, because they've already put their cost into like they have to play their league subs, don't they? So.
Do you think Women's League 2 will get nicer medals?
What, non-wooden ones?
Yeah, using the MK fine money.
I'm pretty sure that was somebody's GCSE. What do you call it? We call it technology,
DT.
but I'm
Yeah,
assuming you call
DT.
it something different.
I never had it as a subject, but design technology, DT, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
If it's not someone's project, there's definitely a cost-saving method there for BD. Is just get one of the junior league players to do it.
Anyway, match to catch. White Tigers and Saints.
Yeah, it's got to be it, doesn't it?
2 and Saints, yeah.
Or White Tigers 2,
Silverbacks 2.
Sorry.
But yeah, I think it's going to be White Tigers 2.
Yeah, White Tigers 2 versus Saints, I think will be a good one. I'm backing Saints.
Poor Honey's only turned up for one match as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the morning as well. I mean, at least it's not a super early start.
Yeah. That's still not fun to go all that way. Like, it's a long way.
Do you take the chance of MK not turning up and just turn up for the 11:45 game?
Well, I mean, I think
do you take that risk?
Don't they have to step on court though? You have to have 4 players there.
I've never seen anybody step on court for a game.
If someone's already said that they're not turning up to a league meet, I don't think you have to because they're the
yeah,
ones
but that
forfeit.
depends on MK saying that they're not going to show up.
Yeah,
that's a big if.
I mean, I assume that they've already withdrawn at this point.
I don't know if they have. If they haven't and they don't let BD know, does Bees know that? And if Bees don't, I think.
Well, I feel like that's something we should probably not be talking about on the podcast.
No, exactly. It's a lot of ifs. There's way too many ifs.
I was just there taking the piss as always. Yeah. I've somehow wrangled a serious conversation out of it.
It'd be absolutely hilarious if MK just turned up with a complete like a hench team out of nowhere and then just get 3 wins out of nowhere.
Who would turn up with random uni students, all dragged in the night before? Like that's who'd ever do that?
Just the Dutch women's team just show up out of nowhere.
The Dutch women's football team, I think.
Oh god.
MK went to UD Open, so really any of the French teams that were UD Open could just play for MK now. I think that's how that works.
Yeah. You win the tournament, you get 1 free meet.
Anyone they bested in an open format can now play for MK.
It's like if you beat somebody in a Yu-Gi-Oh game, you take one of the
win it by conquest.
Why have there been multiple Yu-Gi-Oh references this episode?
You've got it in my head now. I just can't lie.
Just picturing like Colm starting the next match, like just going, it's time to do duel.
I mean, that's got to be your little cover image, the thumbnail for this video. It's got to be Colm.
It's time to duel. Oh my god. I wish I still if I could find a photo of me with my old Yu-Gi-Oh thing to put on the arm.
You had one?
Oh yeah, I had one.
You're such a nerd.
What gave it away? Was it Spider-Man? Was it Crash Bandicoot? Was it Spider-Man number 2? Was it Aku Aku?
Right, guys, I'm going to bring us back on topic because we are absolute. I mean, you said mine was a sidetrack. That was a fucking tangent and a half. Right, let's. What's our predictions? White Tigers 2 or Saints? Go.
Saints. I love Saints. I love them to bits.
Yeah, I'm going to go Saints.
Yeah, Saints.
All that team.
I just don't want Vic to be angry at me.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, look at Saints.
Maybe Vic will give me points in Music League.
It's the only reference. There's only 6 people, and
Yeah, there's only
the
6
only
people.
3 of us that actually listen to the podcast are us 3. So literally nobody else outside of this is going to understand
That reference. Yeah, at all. That is brilliant class reference there.
Podcast for the people.
That's it. Please like and subscribe. We're now over 200. Massively appreciate that. And see you at League.